And hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly from adventuresinmovie.com and the40servants.com. And this week, I am going to be talking about the father from the 40 Servants themselves, the father servant. And then later on, I will be talking a bit about what I got up to over the weekend, particularly on Saturday when I went to Mass. Ooh, Easter Mass. So yeah, starting off with the father. And the father is a very interesting card, and one that is probably best described by describing its relationship to other cards, maybe. There is a kind of three-card relationship between the father, the guru, and the librarian, in that they are all three about sort of guidance and wisdom or learning in some respects. But the father is about the why of the learning in a lot of ways, and the guru would be the how, the practical way of it, and the librarian would be the theory behind it. And the why, in a sense, is like the emotional reasons for it. For the father, is like the life lessons that we have to learn, like the certain rites of passages that we all have to go through, or the knocks of life, the things we have to experience to become better people. And it's wisdom and guidance and these kind of things. So, like, it would be, we're all going to experience death in one form or another, in, like, obviously our own death at the end of it, but like through relationships, through parental deaths or pets or any of that sort of thing. And it's just something that we all have to experience in life, and it's something that we have to learn, and there's just no getting around it. And the father would represent the learning of these types of things, the learning of broken hearts, of separation, of plans not working out, of goals being dashed, and all, kind of, this all sounds like kind of horrible, but it's also the lessons of falling in love, the lessons of getting married, if that's your thing, or having children, the things that make us human, that we all, for the most part, have to go through. Not everyone has to do the marriage and the kids and all that. And that's what I'm saying, but like the life things that we all have to go through. So the father represents guidance and wisdom in those areas. But he would be different than, say, the mother card or the mother servant, who would be in both like a parental figure, but the mother would be look after the child no matter what, protect the child no matter what, and be there for them the whole time. Whereas the father represents the kind of tough love where you will learn the lesson by yourself. Obviously be there, guidance, and tell you whatever, but sees the value in someone learning the lesson by themselves. It's like the only way you really know how not to put your hand in the fire is to put your hand in the fire and get burnt. Now, when I say things like this, people get very concerned then about the cards because they think it's bad. The father does not represent necessarily that you are going to get your hand burnt. It's just saying it's a lesson that you're best learned by learning it yourself. So if you want to put it in comparison to, say, other servants, like where, say, you could go to the saint for an intercession or for an expert or for that kind of thing, the father would suggest, do this yourself. Learn this yourself, go through this yourself, own it, feel it, become a better person out of it. So the father has this kind of classical fathering love, the kind of tough, stern, but always there, dependable, loving, feels that the best love he can give is to make you a stronger, better person rather than doing things for you. So if this comes up in a reading, if the father comes up in a reading and you're doing a divination, it would be a sign that you are probably going through something where you need some help and guidance on how to do that. But ultimately, it's your trial to face. And learning, the great learning or the great thing that you're trying to learn from this situation will be best served overall if you face it yourself and do it yourself. The magic point of view, the father is always there for guidance and help on any of these life sort of situations, rites of passage sort of situations of like death, love, new beginnings, endings, marriage, children, new stages of life, all that kind of things. That's his sphere of influence. But again, it will be coming from a point of view of you learning these things yourself rather than him doing things for you. He will advise and give counsel on all of these things, but ultimately his counsel will come from that you have to learn how to do these things yourself or deal with these things yourself. You have not necessarily you have to go through this yourself. You have to experience this. The point of these trials and tribulations is to experience them and become a better person, a stronger person out of it. So I hope that helps a bit with the father. Like I say, there is a kind of connection with the guru and the librarian in a kind of a triangle thing there. The guru has more of a spiritual aspect to him as well, so it's not just about practically showing you how to do things. There's a practical spiritual element, and the librarian is just the theory behind it. The books on the shelf. Not the why of it, which is what the Father does. He gives you the why these have to happen. These have to happen because you to become a better person. So that's the Father. So now the next thing, over the last couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half or so, if you've been following all the different outlets I have for my writing and stuff on from, say, Adventures in Woo Woo, the blog itself, or in the newsletter, the Gospel According to Woo, there've been a lot of kind of Christian elements coming up, where we first had Catholicism and Chaos Magic blog, and then I had the follow-up in the newsletter, which was about Chaos Magic Messiah, or stealing the Christ idea from Christianity and trying to bring it into Chaos Magic, which, depending on what way you want to look at it, people enjoyed that or didn't enjoy that. And as usual with the internet, a lot of people decided to comment without reading it, which is my favourite thing about the internet, where people decide to have an opinion and tell you you're wrong without first listening to what you actually said. But this is what we are all, this is the game we play. So, I know what I'm getting into when I post these things, or I post a headline that suggests something that people will just react to. But over the weekend was Easter here in Ireland, and Easter, I assume, everywhere else around the world that has any sort of Christian kind of background to their country or to their society. And on Good Friday, in Ireland at least, everywhere kind of closes between 2 and 4, and pubs close, and you can't sell alcohol, and all of those, you can't have fun, you can't eat meat. People don't really follow that stuff, and someone's telling me this is the last year that's going to happen, where pubs are closed. But the knock-on effect is that restaurants close, and so it's kind of a closed day in Ireland. And so, people usually go out the night before and buy loads of drinking and have house parties and stuff like that, just because, there's 2 days in Ireland where pubs close. One's Christmas Day and one's Good Friday. And, people just panic, absolutely panic. How will we get our drink? So they stock up and then go mental on Good Friday. But myself and my wife, we went out and stayed in a log cabin out in, not really log cabin, it was actually more of a galvanised cabin. But it was really, really nice. And we got to visit Lough Key Forest Park, which is awesome. I posted some pictures on Instagram and Facebook page. Some amazing, like, trees, and, there's this bog garden, and it's just really amazing. Really, really high energy, kind of lovely, exotic almost feeling to it. So then on Saturday, it was my wife's best friend's daughter's baptism. And on Easter Saturday, there is a thing where the first baptisms of the new calendar year, in that, I think, as far as I can make out, Catholicism runs from Easter to Easter. That's their year. And so so Easter Sunday is the ending of their thing. It's after Lent, and Jesus has risen again, and all is good in the world, and then the cycle continues again. But you can't baptize anyone, or at least you used to be able to baptize anyone during Lent in the Catholic Church. It just wasn't a thing done. You either get it done beforehand, or you do it. The first available opportunity is this Saturday, Easter Saturday, and it's kind of open that you can just turn up and get your child baptized, or even your adult baptized or whatever. But I suppose, like, you should kind of in this day and age ring ahead or whatever. But there's a whole section of the mass that goes, if there's a child available to be baptized, then this happens, and if not, then you just go on, do a sort of symbolic baptism or whatever. I haven't been to Mass in a long while. I certainly the only times I've been to Mass has been funerals. A lot of the priests in Ireland these days are African priests, because the Irish people just aren't getting involved in Catholicism or want to be priests anymore. That's just not something people do anymore, certainly not in the way they used to. So a lot of priests from Africa have to come in. And you find that very thick accents, and stuff, and that gives an extra kind of separation between yourself and the Mass, because you can't, you're, number one, you're at a funeral, and number two, there's a guy talking in an accent that's really thick, and you don't understand him, and, so you just kind of, it disassociates you completely from it. And the music of Catholicism, the hymns are just so drab and dreary, and so slow, and There obviously a lot of the lyrics have been translated from different languages, and they just have not bothered to try and make them rhyme or scan or fit into these melodies. And it's just, it can be really, it can be almost comical. And again, that disassociates you from any sort of, you know, spiritual feeling you might get from going to a church and, you know, seeing a magical ceremony, which, you know, the Catholic Mass is most definitely a magical ceremony. But anyway, on this Saturday night, Easter Saturday, and we went, and it was a church I'd never been into or been before, and it was like kind of in a small villagey place outside a large town. And the church was lovely, and it was a good crowd, and it started in a different way than I had seen before. Basically, everyone, when you went in, was given a candle, and there was an Easter candle to be lit by the priest, but this was done, you know, everyone was asked, please come outside. So we all outside and had this kind of big fire lit. And then this Easter candle, what I'm sure it has a name, I can't remember, was lit from this candle, or from this flame of this fire. Loads of incense burned. That was lovely because I love incense. And then what continued then was we went back inside, and from that big candle, everyone's individual candles were lit, going like, so the first person would light it from the big candle, and then the next person would light from his candle all the way through the church. And during this time, all the lights in the church were off as well. So you had the incense going, all the lights were off, and it was just candlelight. And it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. It was, the feeling that I got from it was like, must have been what it would have been like, you know, hundreds of years ago, or when the people came, there was more sense of community. You were coming, it was, you weren't just, wasn't an obligation that you felt you were going to, you know, church or whatever. And there's a part in the film, it's called Agora, which this reminded me of, and it's something that stuck with me from the film. And it was kind of, in the background, you can see that Christianity is just starting or whatever, and there's people talking about Jesus and this wonderful, you know, the news, and it's the good news, and it's kind of, and it's like, what that must have been like to be you just going through your life, not knowing what, or, you know, disagreeing necessarily with what was going on in the world, or the, you know, the old religions that had, you weren't connecting with whatever, and then you hear stories of, oh, you know, have you heard of Jesus? Like this amazing guy, this is the truth, and you go, well, finally, here's the, you know, this is it. This is, you know, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been looking for, and there's whispers in the background, and, you know, people talking, and it's just starting off. And it kind of made me feel, you know, that would be a very exciting and wonderful time for people. Just when that was starting, when it was becoming, before it became all the shit that it became and all the problems, whatever. But even like very quickly in Agora, you can see the problems that were going to happen in Christianity, or any religion. I'm not picking on Christianity. It's just, that's what happens. It's maybe not even religion. It's just, that's what happens when people get together and decide they're right above other people. But there was a similarity between that part of the film and this experience in the church with the lights off, the strong incense, and everyone with the candle. And the priest wasn't even talking through the microphones. You know, he was just, you know, saying it out loud. And it was the amazing, like talking about the music in churches, usually bad. The choir was brilliant. Felt like like an old choir, like just there was a lot of voices, a lot of harmonies rather than relying on instruments and just an organ there, you know. It was wonderful. It was really, I really enjoyed it. The only thing was that there was a projector still going above the altar with like Easter Saturday or whatever being plastered on it. So that kind of juxtaposition didn't really gel well with me trying to have some sort of feeling of being a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand years ago. The Mass itself is a very long Mass. The Easter Saturday Mass, it's worked out about an hour and 45 minutes, including the baptism. I had been to one of these before when I was very young, and I really, you know, it just seemed to drag and drag. And that hour and 45 minutes isn't even the full Mass, because there's 2 readings that were done, but there's 7 readings in the full Mass. So God knows like how long it actually is meant to be. There's a lot of bits that you skip. Again, as I was saying, if you do baptism, you do this. And if there isn't, you do something else. But it was nice. And the priest, he was a local priest. Well, he seemed to very live local anyway, but I suppose they all live locally. But he really believed all of this. He was really into it. He really, you know, this is the truth. This is exactly what it is. This a wonderful opportunity that we get to celebrate this. How amazing is this? And he was like really passionate, and really, you know, you felt, because most times, like, it's when you go to Mass, again, like I'm saying, maybe it could be to do with accents and do with disassociation, but you get the feeling that the priest doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He doesn't believe any of this. There's no passion. There's no conviction. There's no sense of even authority, or, well, it's a sense of authority in that, again, he's just telling you you're a piece of shit and you should feel bad. And that's kind of the message you get. That's it. It's always a negative Catholic experience for me whenever I go to Mass, because it's always this heavy, heavy association and teaching of how shit you are and how bad you should feel about yourself. And, you know, you are a terrible person and God hates you. That's what Catholicism is to me. And getting a bit annoyed now. But this guy was very positive, very open, and I was like, how wonderful that, that is, and Jesus is back, and oh, this is great, and life is great, and and we should all be happy, and even though the world is a bit dark at the minute, rejoice at the fact that the light is back in the light. And I think the actual ceremony is the ceremony of light. That's the name of the Mass, or something similar to that. So that was nice too. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed his conviction and his sense of purpose, and his I could see it. I could live momentarily, vicariously through him. That was a really nice experience. Not my experience I want to take home with me, but that's it. But then when it came to the sermon, which is the bit in the Mass where the priest just goes off book and can say whatever he wants, kind of. And he was going on about atheism, and it was just the usual straw man argument of atheists have no morals. They only are atheists because they want to do whatever they want. They don't care about other people. That the only way you can be moral and a good person is to believe in God. And that's just such a dumb fucking argument, man. Like, it's just, and it was at that point, my wife doesn't care about any of this stuff, whatever. And she was just looked at me and she's like, oh, really? You're doing so well there. And then you just, this terrible, terrible argument. But that might be the argument these people who go to that's what they might need to hear, So more power to them, I guess. It's just a poor argument against atheism, in that you can't be morally pure unless you're terrified of a God punishing you. Not even morally pure, that you can't have morals of any description unless you're afraid God will punish you. And the kicker is that if you're only doing something because God will punish you, or not doing something because God will punish you, that's not having morals. That's just not wanting to be caught or punished. So a case could be made that an atheist who does do the right thing is more morally pure than a Christian who does the same thing, only because the Christian is afraid he's going to be punished, whereas the atheist is doing it because he thinks it's right. But again, that's another straw man argument. It's just that life isn't like that. That's not the way people think. The Mass then, the baptism happens, and there's a whole point then where everyone in the crowd, in the audience, it's like a gig, has to renounce Satan and all his works, and pledge yourself to this Catholic theme of drudgery and of lack of self-worth, and to know your place in the universe and all that. And again, that's just kind of got my tits as well. But I'm very tempted to release out a Hail Satan during it, but you shouldn't really do this when you're at your wife's best friend's baptism. I don't think it would go down too well. But in the end, it was nice, and overall experience from something that not that I was dreading, I was just going, oh, here's something I have to do, And it was late at night, so it finished around 11 o'clock. And it was nice. It was okay. It would not make me ever want to go back to Mass on a regular basis or anything. It didn't renew my faith in Catholicism or anything remotely similar. But I could see how people get into that and get comfort for that, or strength from it, conviction or whatever. I can understand it in that kind of way, whereas I don't usually understand it when the Mass is said, by numbers, just run through it as quickly as possible, where the height of the magic ceremony, where in front of you you're holding the body and blood of your Lord and Saviour, and the priest himself doesn't give a toss. He doesn't believe that. And the guy, genuinely, the priest who did this one, genuinely, you could see, believed that the communion wafer, not even bread anymore, this fake, hardly gluten-free bread had, turned, that the miracle had happened. So that was interesting. Easter Sunday, I went for an amazing long walk in the forests along the river that is local to me. It's just such a nice walk, and it's like entering fairy kingdoms. There's like this really ancient old feel to it. And you can just feel all your annoyances and worry and crud just being released from you, just being taken away. And it's so nice. And it takes about 2 hours or so to do it. It's just really nice. If you've been following the blog, whatever, you can see that I've been on like a diet and kind of doing a lot fast. So I had a kind of a splurge out on Easter Sunday eating wise. But my splurge out was that I had the same amount of calories that you would have if you weren't trying to lose weight, in that I had a normal amount of calories rather than a deficit of calories. But it felt like an awful lot more food to me, because I've been like doing At the minute, I'm doing 1,500 calories a day. So I did about 2,300, something like that, calories. And it just felt, oh, I've eaten all the food in the world. And it's strange because instantly then the guilt comes in. Oh, there, you've fucked up. You're back now. You've all your hard work ruined. This guilt, this terrible, stupid guilt because you ate a few more calories on one day. But it is what it is. But I enjoyed it, and then I had a couple of glasses of wine, and then I had a few rums, and that was a wonderful ending to my Easter. So yeah, that's basically what Tommy got up to over the weekend of Easter, and I assume in many ways that may end my current fascination or my current hanging out with Catholic and Christian themes. It's hard to know because it's a part of me, and it's part of my culture that it surrounds me. So it's something that's always going to creep in. But I think, as I've said before, keeping it in context, all that stuff in context, and remembering where it's from rather than trying to romanticize it or make it into something that it's not, seeing the Catholic Church for what it is important. It's important to me because I don't want to whitewash the history of the Catholic Church or the things, the imprints it has left in me. And I don't just want it to go, oh no, it's all cool. Let's just use the saints, or let's hang out with saints, and yeah, let's use Catholic ideas and all that and just be cool. It's all cool in the typical chaos magic way. And maybe I should be more like that, but I'm not, and I don't want to be. So anyway, that's that. That's what Tommy did on Easter weekend. So I will talk to you all next week. Same time, same place, same bad time, same bad channel, all that thing. In the meantime, you can check out adventuresinwooboo.com. And you can sign up for the newsletter there. You can go to the40servants.com and find out all about the 40 Servants. Or you can go to the YouTube channel. You can go to Twitter, which is at Tommy Kelly. There's an Adventures in Wooboo Facebook page. There's a 40 Servants Facebook group. There's a Spanish 40 Servants Facebook group. There's a Brazilian 40 Servants Facebook group. That was hard to get out there. And I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting as well. But if you can share, leave comments, all those things help to get the word out. Or, just listen and enjoy the stuff, or read and enjoy the stuff, or read and don't enjoy it. But, you experience Adventures in Wooboo and Tommy Kelly related stuff in the way you want to, and all will be well in the world. So until next time, good people of the internet, have a wonderful week.